everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is our webinar in our coffee break series from Forward Advantage Can Do That. We've heard from customers that many aren't aware of all the things that we offer, and they want to know more about how to optimize their existing Forward Advantage products. For example, many people don't know all of the many ways we can help customers who use MEDITECH scanning and archiving. So we hope to introduce you to some of those tools and services. Our team might be able to help you assist in your migrations through this webinar and help you optimize your MEDITECH scanning and archiving. My name is Amy Leopold. I'm a product marketing manager here at Forward Advantage. I'll be the moderator of today's webinar. Our speaker today is Charles William, VP Migration Services. There's a lot of people on the line, so your phones are muted. If you have questions, please enter them in the question panel on your screen, and we'll do our best to answer those questions at the end of the webinar. If you have any concerns about the audio or the slides and you can't see things or you're having issues hearing things, please let us know through the questionnaire box too, but I think everything should be working perfectly. So again, everybody's on mute, so please enter your questions in on the question box. And with that, I'll pass it over to Charles.
All right, thank you, Amy. I think you jinxed us. You said everything's going to go perfectly.
Sorry.
All right, so this webinar has a lot of content. And I'm going to try to cover a number of the different areas in which we provide products and services which complement MEDITECH scanning and archiving product. During this, I'm going to demonstrate a few of these, just provide short product demonstrations of offerings. Some of these I just have nice colorful slides. So if there's something you're interested in, we'll be providing contact information at the end, and we can provide a more comprehensive walkthrough of that particular offering or a demonstration of that offering. So this is really just to give you an idea of some of the things we can cover. If you have questions afterwards, please either ask them in the chat or through one of our emails. So jumping right into it, the first thing I just wanted to outline, a few weeks, maybe a month ago, we did a webinar on scanning and archiving conversions, and I just wanted to highlight that with one quick slide as a reminder that we do provide an offering. It's called DISC with a C. It stands for Document Imaging and Scanning Conversion. So this is something we've been providing since 2010 and completed more than 150 projects to date. So we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of different scanning vendors. So if you're looking to convert from these vendors to MEDITECH scanning and archiving, we'd be happy to help you out there and talk to you about some of the complications and how we can assist with that. And there's other areas as well, even if you're just migrating from, say, Magic to 6.0 or to 6.1 or client server to such, then we can also help extract some of that data and then bring that into your new environment. So if this is something you're interested in, I'm not going to go into great detail, just make you aware that it is something that we do, and we have a lot of projects ongoing and a lot of expertise in this area. So I want to start with our first offering here, which is really a piece that focuses on the business office scanning within MEDITECH. And this is something that we've been working on for 2 years. It's been deployed in numerous sites for business office, but we're also looking at this from a clinical standpoint for future. So as I go through this, you can just think about how it might apply to clinical searching as well. But the root of this is very simple. As you're scanning business office documents inside MEDITECH, it will prompt you for things called search keys and form IDs. And when you want to find that document later, you can use those search keys and those form IDs to locate the document. Now, when there's content within the document or when there's multiple pages within the document, sometimes it's a challenge to find exactly what you're looking for. A remittance file would be a good example of that, where you may have hundreds of pages and you're not sure which page the patient content you're looking for exists on. So our approach to this was to apply an OCR engine to this MEDITECH scanning and archiving, and essentially provide an advanced search capability that sits on top of MEDITECH's environment. So whether it's MEDITECH's documents or other documents which are added to a directory, there's an OCR process which will go through and extract the words from every single scanned page. It'll take those words and put them into our database. And then the last step is we provide a query tool which allows you to search for the content within those pages. So this is the first piece I'm going to demonstrate, which is a product called Find It. It's available. It's been deployed for all of the platforms, Magic, Client Server, and 6.0. So I'll just cut over to my demo machine. Okay. So you should be seeing now our demonstration machine. It's just a VM running all the different components that we're going to demonstrate. Now, this particular component is organized such that it's Active Directory authentication based, so you can identify who has access to execute the queries. It has logging, so as pages are searched and viewed, all of that gets logged. And then the Active Directory credentials are mapped to the various applications that you want to work with. So BAR is the most common, but there are other business office applications which you could apply this to. So I've chosen to demonstrate BAR. A common thing you want to search for is a patient based on name or medical record number or account number. And that's not something that you're always going to be able to use a search key for. So that's why you want to be able to search for the content within the document. You want to find what page that exists on. You can search based on form type. So if you know which form ID you're looking for, you can choose that. It'll isolate the search even further. Same thing if you know when the document was scanned or have an idea. All of this information can be used to restrict the search results. Any of the archive keys which are scanned into MEDITECH will become available for searching. So it might be, a remittance file might have a batch date, batch number, insurance company. Any of this, if you know it, you can plug it in and use it as part of your search. When you click on the search button, it's going to isolate all of the documents which match to that content. In this case, we have 4 pages that were found, and it gives you a preview down below with which page it is. So in this case, it's page 12 of 15. And if I just expand this with the green checkbox, you can see, and if I'll just kind of zoom in, all of these words have been OCR'd. They're in our database. So I could do another search on the word banana or cake or one of these dates and be able to pull up that value. I can also navigate through the pages. If there's a next page here that I want to look at, it'll bring me to the next page and pull it up for preview as well. Once I identify the page that I'm interested in, I can either print the entire document. In this case, it's a 15-page document, or I can print a specific page. And when I do that, I'll just click on print here. It allows me to redact anything that might be sensitive or not relating to that patient. And so we can do that, click on print, and it'll prompt me for all of the installed print drivers. Or I could also download it and I could encrypt it so that it could be burnt to a CD. So this is the first one. Again, very high level overview of Find It. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next one, and this is for you Magic users, but not entirely for you Magic users. MEDITECH doesn't provide business office scanning for Magic, and they're not planning on it. So what we've done is we've created a way where you can still scan business office documents and have a placeholder for them. So in this case, really all that we've done is we've changed how the documents get captured. Instead of scanning directly into MEDITECH, we're directing your scanner output to an application which will prompt you for those same form IDs and search keys. And then once we capture those, they get stored and cataloged so that you can do a search on them. So this doesn't have to relate to Magic users. It can really be just a complement to anything that you're doing, perhaps other business processes which don't necessarily directly relate to your MEDITECH system. So if there happens to be an application that you're not using scanning for, this is an alternative. Once you've scanned those documents, everything else works exactly the same as you did with the scans that originated within MEDITECH. So moving on to the next item, our 835 and 837 file processing. Over the years we've talked to a lot of different customers and identified a lot of different workflows that exist. Sometimes these 835s and 837s come and are delivered as EDI files. Sometimes you get faxes, sometimes they come in the mail. What we wanted to do is provide a better workflow. And to do that, we took these individually, and we really started with 835s. And this is really a natural extension of what we're doing with the previous two products, essentially Find It and the follow-on one called Capture It, which is the one for the Magic scanning. When an EDI file, an 835 EDI file, is transmitted, we've developed a process which will parse the data elements out of that, generate a report, and then either deliver that to Find It or deliver it through to the ECM file folder, which is your essentially your cold feed for MEDITECH scanning and archiving. So if you wanted those files delivered in part of your eChart, ECM might be the way to go. But if you just want to be able to search on them, which is the more common case for 835s, is they go right into Find It and you can immediately begin to search on them. So, if you think about the alternative workflow, you might be receiving reports, printing them, sifting through them, scanning them back into a system. This essentially cuts out the paper trail and just brings it directly into the system. On the 837, the claims, we transformed those into a UB04 format. And again, those can go directly into Find It, or we can pass them into the ECM filer, and then they become part of your chart, electronic chart. So this is something that's become more and more popular. Again, just cutting out the paper trail, automatically processing these and having them available for searching right away. The next item is inbound faxes. And again, part of the challenge here is the workflow. Faxes come in, they're being printed. If you want to associate them with a patient chart, then you need to locate the patient and then scan the document against the patient. So there's a time implication there, there's a paper implication there. The ECM folder is available as well as an option. The challenge there is there's certain information that needs to be identified to tie that fax to the ECM folder. So it's not as easy as taking a fax and renaming the file so it'll drop into the ECM folder. You really need to be able to associate to the correct patient. So if you have orders or results coming from an outside organization, they may have different identifiers for a patient, or they may not have the identifiers at all as they relate to your organization. So it really presents a challenge of how you can streamline this process and automate it as much as possible. So what we've done is we've essentially created what we call a fax queue manager, which is designed to interact with the ECM folder and streamline that process. So when a fax comes in, we prompt the user for specific information. Once all of that information is available, it gets filed off into the ECM folder. So this is going to be my second demonstration. So this is what it looks like. When you open up the application, it's pointing to a queue. So in our particular case, we've deployed this, and we use Communication Director for inbound faxes. We direct those inbound faxes to this component called File It, and then it builds up into a queue. And in this case, you can see down here, I've got a 15-page document. And this is one of the challenges, is a fax can have documents that are related to multiple patients. So what you might need to do is break that apart, and that's when we have this functionality to split the document apart or merge pages together. Sometimes things get faxed upside down or sideways, and maybe you need to rotate those. So it's got the functionality to manipulate the document as needed. The most important thing that you're going to need to do is identify the key information. So the delivery location from the source identifies and defaults in the application and form ID. You can have multiple form IDs listed here, multiple applications. It's just defaulting in based on where that file was delivered. This is the challenge. You want to get the unit number and account number, and you want to get them correctly. So if you know the value, if you have it, you copy it or paste it in here from another application, that's great. If you don't know it and you want to ensure accuracy, we have this lookup button. And what this is going to do is a lookup directly to MEDITECH's DR, which is going to ensure a higher probability of accuracy. So if I have some fake patients in here, click on search, excuse me, you can search on last name, first name, date of birth, gender, and unit number. If you know any parts of those, if you know last name's Bunny, you can type it out. If you know it starts with B and first name starts with B, you can use partial wildcards, and it'll give you all the possible matches. So in this case, I was looking for Bugs Bunny. And on the right-hand side, you can see Bugs Bunny had 3 visits. I can choose the appropriate visit and then click on Select, and it automatically fills those values in an appropriate format. So now at this point, all I've got to do is either accept this or reject it. So if I accept it, it's going to file it and push it off into the ECM filer pickup. If I reject it, then it's just going to go away. If I have multiple documents here, I can just navigate through them. Next, 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 or pick and choose them as I need them. And these files will never go away until you either accept them or reject them. So the cases where maybe you need to hold on to it until a patient's been created for it, some of those inbound labs for referrals and so forth, that can be all managed through here. So this is File It, and essentially it's a queue manager for your faxes to other ECM filer. So again, some of the benefits here, it's really a workflow process, but it's also going to save you some paper. So the last item, and this is also one that I touched on in our last webinar if you happen to participate, is around what to do with those documents, where maybe they can't be imported into MEDITECH, or perhaps you're just trying to sunset a product and you don't really want to do anything with those documents, but you need them for legal purposes. It's a very common situation where you may have tens or hundreds of millions of pages that you need to deal with. So a common problem is we see documents that were originally scanned at the patient level. Could be an advanced directive or another item, which can't be imported into MEDITECH because it has to be associated with an account number when you import. So that presents a challenge of what to do with these types of documents. So there's really two sides of the coin here. One solution is, well, you could just take all those documents, put them in a directory, and make sure you have a way to search on them, whether it be a CSV file or a simple database where you can do a query. What we've done is taken that a little bit further with what I'd term as an advanced solution. We call this our historical archive viewer, where we're doing the first part, which is a simple solution, pulling together all the metadata so you can find them, but we're also providing a user interface which is also tied to the Active Directory and provides logging so that you can search for these documents for a particular patient and print them very easily. So this is going to be our third demonstration. I'll open that up again. So with this, again, it's kind of a similar look and feel. You have the same search capabilities, name, date of birth, unit number, account number. If you know any parts of those, you can search on them. And we also support two other parameters which are customizable. So if you wanted to use a phone number or a city or state or anything along those lines, we can customize these. If you don't need them, then we just hide them. In this case, I might be looking for, something that starts with a W or contains a W, and I've selected my own record in here. It's a pretend record. So the idea is that there's documents out there associated with my account which I can't get rid of, but I need to be able to retrieve quickly. So when I do that, it's going to group all of my visits together here. So I've got 2 visits, and then for one visit I have one document which is a PDF, and then for the other one I've got a couple TIFFs, and you can see that those are available. I can print them, I can navigate if they're multi-page, I can navigate through them, and anything that I do here is also being logged so that I can look at it later. So it's a nice way of being able to find those quickly without having to sift through or NoSQL or sift through a CSV file. So that's it in a nutshell there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn this back over to Amy to run with any questions that may have been raised. But while you're asking questions, here's some contact information. I'm at the bottom. I always welcome emails. If they're sales related, I usually pass them directly over to Todd, but if they're technical in nature, I will take them myself or pass them on to the appropriate person. And then there's also an email address up there for support as it relates directly to these products in my group.
Great, thanks, Charles. Lots of good information today. We do have a couple of minutes, we're running over a little bit, but we did have 1 or 2 questions that came in. The first question was, could we move our documents from DocuWare to the fax document library?
Yeah, so this is, I'm sorry, was related to the fax filer, is that right? Or
yeah, this question was earlier in the webinar.
Okay, could you repeat it once more for me? It's just some background noise.
Sure. Could we move our documents from DocuWare to the Fox document library? I don't know if she made it fax.
Okay, so there's 2 things there, because you used the term fax, but the document library, which is the last product I demonstrated, anything can be moved there, whether it's business office or patient-based. So that is one option. The fax component is really designed for transactions that are being passed through real time, so that you can associate them with a patient and then import it. So I don't know that you would need to use that, but if the interest is moving them in a real-time capacity to the ECM filer, we do also provide customized interface services, and we could help with that. If that doesn't answer the question, then please reach out to me afterwards, and I'll have a one-on-one discussion with you. Did you have another question, Amy?
Yes, we do have one more question. Can Find It be used for current scanned documents or on converted documents only?
It can be used for both. So it was originally designed to work with MEDITECH scanning and archiving. So anything that is scanned into MEDITECH's Business Office module becomes available through Find It. And it will be available that same day within an hour or so. So anything that you scan into that module becomes available. But we do also support historical migrations. So, you know, if you've been using Valco as an example for years and maybe you have several million Business Office scanned documents, we can migrate those directly into Find It as an alternative to importing those into MEDITECH, which ultimately will save you money and contribute to the ROI of Find It.
Great. And then just one last one. Do you always convert legacy data or systems into SCA?
We have, we don't always convert into scanning and archiving of MEDITECH. We've done a lot of conversion to other systems, which I think is what the question is asking. You know, in one of the first slides I presented a listing, and a lot of those other vendors actually work with us to convert data into their systems as well. So we're pretty open to converting from and to any system. If it's not a system we've worked with before, we usually schedule what's called a deep dive to learn more about the system so that we can scope out the services appropriately.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for submitting your questions and for your time today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar, and I do want to let you know a couple of things for everybody on the line. We did record the webinar today, and we will be sending you out a link so you can review it for any other information that Charles shared, or you can share it with anybody else in your facility. But again, thank you again, and feel free to reach out to Todd or Charles if you have any questions and you'd like to set up some time to review any projects. So thank you, Charles, and thank you everybody on the line. This now concludes the webinar.